Have you ever stopped to question why your life feels like a cycle on repeat, where no matter how much effort you put in, you keep ending up in the same struggles? It feels like déjà vu that never ends, right? This is not just bad luck or coincidence. Science has a name for it: quantum entanglement. At its core, entanglement is when two particles remain connected across space and time, instantly affecting each other regardless of distance. But when applied to human experience, it becomes much deeper. Your past choices, unresolved emotions, and hidden beliefs form energetic bonds with timelines you have already lived through. These bonds act like invisible threads tying you down to a reality you no longer want, yet cannot seem to escape. The very thing you are seeking, a new reality, a higher version of yourself, is blocked because you're still entangled with the wrong timeline. When you wake up in the morning and feel stuck, as if no matter what you do, life doesn't shift, that sensation is proof of entanglement. Quantum physics shows us that every possibility already exists, like channels on a television. But your energetic frequency determines which channel or timeline you're tuned into. If you're still carrying anger, fear, guilt, or regret, those frequencies keep you locked into a timeline where similar experiences repeat themselves. This explains why people who try to escape toxic relationships often attract another partner who is nearly identical, or why someone who escapes poverty continues to struggle with money. The timeline hasn't changed because the entanglement is still active. You've tuned into the wrong frequency, and therefore the wrong version of reality keeps playing out. Picture your life as a web where every strand represents a possible reality. You've already walked through some of those strands, creating strong bonds with them. These are your entanglements. When you try to shift timelines without breaking those bonds, the web pulls you back like a spider catching its prey. This is why you sometimes feel like you're running in circles, making changes but never truly progressing. You cannot escape a web you are still tied to. You can only shift timelines by first identifying which strands of your past are still holding you hostage. Most people don't do this inner work, and so they unconsciously drag their old energies into every new chapter of life. This is why you may be unknowingly living on a recycled timeline, one you didn't consciously choose, but are still attached to. The strange thing about entanglement is that it's not always negative. Just as your struggles keep you tied to one timeline, your higher emotions, like love, gratitude, and joy, can entangle you with better timelines. The problem is that most people are far more entangled with pain than they are with possibility. Think about it: how much of your mental energy is focused on regrets from the past or fears about the future? Those thoughts are not harmless. They are anchors. They keep you locked into a version of reality that matches their frequency. The truth is, you already exist on infinite timelines: one where you are wealthy, one where you are fulfilled, one where your dreams are already real. But your current entanglements are keeping you attached to a version of life you don't actually want. Until you shift those energetic ties, you cannot align with the higher version of yourself. So why is it so hard to let go of the wrong timeline? Because entanglement feels familiar. The brain is addicted to what it knows, even if it's painful. Familiar suffering feels safer than unknown joy. Your subconscious keeps replaying the same patterns because it believes repetition equals survival. But survival is not the same as living. You were not meant to stay trapped in cycles. You were meant to evolve. And that evolution requires breaking the bonds of entanglement. In this video, we are going to dive deep into why you're still attached to the wrong timeline, how to recognize the threads keeping you stuck, and most importantly, how to untangle yourself so you can finally align with the reality you've been craving. The moment you understand this truth, you'll never look at your life the same way again. Quantum entanglement shows us that reality is not as separate as it seems. Just like two particles can mirror each other across galaxies, your emotions and choices mirror themselves across timelines. This is why unresolved trauma feels like it follows you everywhere. That heartbreak from years ago still shapes how you view relationships. That financial failure still colors how you see opportunities. Each memory you haven't healed is like a thread still pulsing with energy, keeping you locked to the version of yourself who experienced it. This is why meditation, inner work, and shadow healing are not optional. They are quantum tools for breaking entanglements. Without clearing these attachments, you're like a radio stuck on one station, wondering why you can't hear new music. Think about déjà vu, the eerie feeling that you've lived a moment before. Many dismiss it as a brain glitch, but from a quantum perspective, it could be evidence of overlapping timelines. When you're entangled, parts of your consciousness bleed into other versions of reality, making you feel like you're stuck in loops. This is why people say, "I always attract the same kind of person," or "I always end up broke no matter what I do." Those loops are proof of entanglement. You are not cursed. You are simply tuned into the wrong frequency because your energy is still feeding the wrong thread of reality. Breaking free requires you to consciously redirect your awareness, cutting off the fuel that keeps that loop alive. Your thoughts are not just private whispers in your mind. They are quantum commands. Every thought vibrates at a frequency that entangles you with timelines matching that vibration. When you constantly think, "I'm not good enough," you entangle with a timeline where your reality proves that belief true. When you think, "I'm always unlucky," you reinforce a version of reality where circumstances keep disappointing you. But the opposite is also true. By training your mind to focus on higher frequencies, you entangle with higher timelines. This is why affirmations, visualization, and gratitude practices are so powerful. They aren't just positive thinking. They are reprogramming your entanglements, shifting your attachments to timelines where those thoughts are already reality. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to change their external world without changing their internal entanglements. You might change jobs, but if your energy is still tied to scarcity, your new paycheck won't feel different. You might leave a toxic partner, but if your self-worth is still entangled with pain, your next relationship will look the same. This is why so many people feel frustrated. They're putting effort into surface level changes, but their quantum entanglements remain untouched. Real transformation doesn't happen from the outside in, it happens from the inside out. The only way to unlock a new timeline is by breaking the energetic contracts holding you to the old one. So, how do you know you're still attached to the wrong timeline? The signs are clear patterns that repeat, emotions that linger, and opportunities that never seem to shift, no matter what you try. If life feels like a movie you've watched 100 times, you're still entangled with the wrong script. But here's the empowering truth. Just because you're entangled doesn't mean you're trapped forever. The very fact that you're becoming aware of this pattern means your consciousness is already shifting. Awareness is the first tool to loosen the threads. Once you see the web, you can begin to untangle it. And once you untangle it, infinite timelines become available to you. Timelines where you are free, aligned, and finally living the reality you were meant for. Most people don't realize that their subconscious is the strongest force pulling them into timelines. The subconscious mind records everything, every heartbreak, every failure, every harsh word spoken to you. It stores these memories as programs that repeat in the background of your life. Imagine trying to drive forward while your car is stuck in reverse. That's what happens when your subconscious programs are entangled with the wrong timeline. Even when you consciously want abundance, love, or success, your subconscious entanglements drag you back into scarcity, loneliness, and struggle. This is why manifestation sometimes feels like it doesn't work. It's not that the law of attraction is broken. It's that you're entangled with a program that contradicts what you're trying to create. Another reason you remain attached to the wrong timeline is emotional addiction. Science shows that emotions release powerful chemicals in the body. Over time, your body becomes addicted to the chemical rush of stress, anger, or sadness, just like a drug. Even if your mind wants peace, your body craves the familiar chaos because it's chemically hooked. This keeps you entangled with timelines that mirror those emotions. For example, someone addicted to stress will unconsciously create situations that keep them overwhelmed. Someone addicted to heartbreak will unconsciously sabotage relationships. Until you recognize that you're not just mentally, but physically addicted to certain emotional states, you'll remain attached to a reality that keeps feeding those addictions. Fear is another thread keeping you tied to the wrong reality. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of stepping into the unknown. It all acts like glue, holding you to a timeline where safety means staying small. But here's the paradox: staying small feels safe, yet it keeps you stuck in the very suffering you want to escape. Fear convinces you that the familiar pain is better than the risk of the unfamiliar joy. And so, you keep repeating the same story, not because you want it, but because fear has entangled you with it. The moment you begin facing fear with awareness, you weaken its grip. Every time you act despite fear, you untangle a thread that has been holding you hostage for years. Then there's the illusion of identity. Many people unknowingly entangle themselves with a version of reality simply because it aligns with who they think they are. If you see yourself as a struggler, you entangle with timelines where life is a constant fight. If you identify as unlucky in love, you attract relationships that confirm that story. Identity is powerful because it doesn't just reflect your past, it shapes your future. To shift timelines, you must be willing to let go of the identity that keeps you locked in suffering. That means rewriting who you believe yourself to be. Instead of saying, "I am broken," you begin to say, "I am healing." Instead of claiming, "I never win," you claim, "I always rise." Identity is the strongest entanglement, but it is also the one most within your power to rewrite. Then there's the illusion of identity. Many people unknowingly entangle themselves with a version of reality simply because it aligns with who they think they are. If you see yourself as a struggler, you entangle with timelines where life is a constant fight. If you identify as unlucky in love, you attract relationships that confirm that story. Identity is powerful because it doesn't just reflect your past, it shapes your future. To shift timelines, you must be willing to let go of the identity that keeps you locked in suffering. That means rewriting who you believe yourself to be. Instead of saying, "I am broken," you begin to say, "I am healing." Instead of claiming, "I never win," you claim, "I always rise." Identity is the strongest entanglement, but it is also the one most within your power to rewrite. Finally, one of the most overlooked reasons you're still attached to the wrong timeline is unresolved energy from others. Remember, entanglement isn't just with your own past. It's also with the people you've shared energy with. That toxic relationship, that painful friendship, that betrayal from someone you trusted. Those threads don't just disappear when the person leaves your life. The energetic cord remains, silently pulling you back into old patterns. This is why cord-cutting meditations and forgiveness rituals are so powerful. They're not just spiritual fluff. They are ways of severing quantum entanglements with timelines that belong to your past, not your future. Until you release the energy of others, you will keep living in timelines that were written for them, not for you. The first step to breaking free from the wrong timeline is awareness. You cannot shift what you cannot see. Start by identifying the repeating patterns in your life. Do you keep attracting the same type of partner, losing money in similar ways, or facing the same emotional struggles? These are not random accidents. They are signs of entanglement. Awareness allows you to shine light on the invisible threads that have been pulling you backward. When you name the pattern, you weaken its power. Instead of being unconsciously dragged into repetition, you begin to consciously observe it. Observation is powerful because the moment you see the web, you are no longer fully trapped by it. Awareness cracks open the door to new timelines. The second step is healing your past. Many people try to run away from their old wounds, but unhealed wounds don't just disappear. they entangle. Healing is the process of releasing the energy attached to those experiences so they no longer dictate your present. This can mean revisiting painful memories, forgiving yourself or others, and allowing suppressed emotions to surface. Healing is not about erasing the past, it's about releasing your attachment to it. Once the emotional charge is dissolved, the entanglement weakens. Suddenly, you no longer attract the same toxic situations because the energetic thread that bound you to them has been cut. Healing your past is one of the most direct ways to free yourself from the wrong timeline. The third step is rewiring your subconscious mind. Remember, your subconscious is the autopilot steering you into timelines. If it's programmed with scarcity, fear, or unworthiness, that's the reality you'll keep experiencing. Rewiring requires consistent practices like affirmations, visualization, and meditation. When you repeatedly feed your subconscious with new beliefs, I am worthy of love. Abundance flows to me. I trust the universe. You create new entanglements with higher timelines. This doesn't happen overnight, but with persistence, the old programs lose their grip. Eventually, your subconscious begins to guide you toward opportunities, people, and experiences that align with your new beliefs. In other words, you begin living on a timeline that matches your upgraded identity. The fourth step is mastering your emotional state. Your emotions are like magnets, constantly pulling you toward timelines that reflect their frequency. Fear pulls you into fearful realities. Gratitude pulls you into abundant realities. Anger keeps you in conflict timelines, while joy connects you to harmonious ones. Mastery doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It means observing and redirecting them. Instead of being a slave to anger, you learn to transmute it into power. Instead of drowning in sadness, you turn it into compassion. When you consciously choose higher emotional states, you entangle yourself with timelines that mirror those states. Emotional mastery is not just spiritual advice. It's a quantum necessity for shifting reality. The fifth step is detaching from other people's energy. Many of the timelines you are stuck in don't even belong to you. They belong to others whose energy you've absorbed. This can be family expectations, cultural programming, or old relationships that still live rent-free in your mind. To break free, you must create energetic boundaries. Practices like cord-cutting visualizations, journaling, or even physically distancing yourself from toxic environments can help. Detachment doesn't mean you stop loving people. It means you stop carrying timelines that are not yours. The moment you reclaim your energy, you weaken the entanglements tying you to someone else's reality. This creates space for your authentic timeline to emerge. The one where you are free, aligned, and sovereign over your own destiny. Once you've broken the strongest entanglements, the next step is alignment. Alignment means consciously choosing the frequency of the timeline you want to live on and consistently embodying it. This is not about wishing or hoping. It's about living as if you're already there. If you want to shift to a timeline of abundance, you must think, act, and feel abundant every day. If you want love, you must embody self-love and openness to connection. The universe mirrors back who you are being, not just what you're asking for. Alignment is the process of matching your energy to the version of reality you desire until it becomes the only frequency you're tuned into. The beauty of quantum entanglement is that it also works in your favor. Just as negative emotions tie you to painful timelines, higher states of being tie you to elevated ones. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools for this shift. When you practice gratitude, you instantly raise your frequency, breaking ties with lower realities. Gratitude tells the universe, I already have enough. And that signal entangles you with timelines where abundance flows naturally. The same is true with love, joy, and creativity. These emotions don't just feel good, they're portals into higher realities. Every time you choose them over fear, anger, or doubt, you rewire your entanglements toward timelines where your dreams are already real. Another key to aligning with the right timeline is presence. Many people remain trapped in old realities because they're constantly living in the past or projecting into the future. The present moment is the only place where true freedom exists. When you anchor yourself in presence, through breathwork, meditation, or mindful awareness, you step outside of time, and when you're outside of time, the grip of old entanglements weakens. In presence, you are no longer the person who was wounded years ago or the person worried about tomorrow. You are pure awareness, and from that state, you can consciously choose which timeline to step into. Presence is not just peace, it is power. To fully integrate into the right timeline, you must take aligned action. Energy, thoughts, and emotions are powerful, but without action, they remain incomplete. If you want to shift into a timeline of abundance, you must also act in ways that reflect abundance. Investing in yourself, taking bold steps, and saying yes to opportunities. If you want to live in a timeline of health, you must align your habits, eating well, moving your body, and honoring your well-being. Every aligned action reinforces your entanglement with the desired timeline, until eventually the old one loses all power over you. Action is the anchor that locks in your new frequency. Here's the ultimate truth: you are not stuck. You are entangled, and entanglements can be broken. The wrong timeline may feel powerful, but it only exists because you keep feeding it with your energy. The moment you reclaim your awareness, heal your past, reprogram your subconscious, master your emotions, and align with higher frequencies, you begin detaching from the old reality. And once those threads are cut, you are free to step into the timeline where your highest self already exists. Remember, infinite versions of you are already out there. The question is not whether you can shift. The question is, which version of yourself are you willing to finally become? The power is yours right now, in this moment.